I'm your host, Brad Logan. A special thank you to our Thailand presenting sponsor of all of our coverage from the Auburn Super Regional and our friends at the College Corner store in Oxford, your go-to for all things Ole Miss. They've got everything from apparel to game day supplies to tailgating supplies. Go by and see them today. They're located just east of the what we like to call the New Wendy's. It's not new anymore, but it's in Northeast Oxford, and there's Chick-fil-A out there, Chipotle, and a great area. The movie theater is out there, but go by and see them. They're just east of the New Wendy's, if you will, and they've got all of your game day needs, apparel. Proud Thailand presenting sponsor here on the Talk of Champions, the Auburn Super Regional preview. A lot to get to today. We'll hear from Ole Miss head coach Mike Bianco. We'll hear from Dom Decker. We'll hear from Hunter Elliott, who's going to be the starting pitcher tonight for Ole Miss as they face Auburn in the best of three. It's Super Regional time for Ole Miss, and they will face the Auburn Tigers down on the Plains. Full coverage, of course, on the Talk of Champions podcast. We'll have our post-game show that will be coming to you from Planesman Park. I'll be there bringing you full coverage on the Talk of Champions network, along with Jake Thompson will be there for the Ole Miss Spirit. That's an affiliate of On3. That's omspirit.com. Ben Garrett will be anchoring the studio as we bring you wall-to-wall coverage of Ole Miss in the Auburn Super Regional. A couple of things we want to get to today before we hear from Dom Decker. We'll also hear from Ole Miss pitchers Hudson, Calhoun, and Walker Hooks as they had a chance to visit with the media. And like I said a moment ago, Hunter Elliott, the starting pitcher tonight. We'll also hear from Auburn head coach Butch Thompson as we preview the game tonight. First pitch is at 7 p.m. You look at this Ole Miss team, and a couple things we'll get to that is some stats that were provided by the Ole Miss media relations team. The Ole Miss Rebels were the only 2 seed that were at 1.2-0. And I think that's a big testament to Mike Bianco and to the rest of this coaching staff getting this team prepared for an opportunity to go on the road. And you know, we have said ad nauseum here on the Talk of Champions that Ole Miss had an opportunity to be a host team in the regionals. Now, I think if you look at other host teams in the regional that won their regional when they're hosting, they're lined up against maybe a little bit more difficult super regional matchup. I like Ole Miss's matchup against Auburn. It's against an Auburn team that had to fight its way through the losers bracket and winning the Auburn regional last week over Milwaukee, as Milwaukee forced Auburn to beat them twice. But it was a tough road for Auburn. Mainly, they had to go through some pitching and may not be as rested as Ole Miss. But make no mistake, this Butch Thompson team is really, really good. And we'll hear from Butch Thompson in a moment, the Amory, Mississippi native with a lot of ties to Mississippi, obviously coached at Mississippi State. The Rebels, as we know, beat Arizona State on Friday in 14 innings. And it was Braden Randall stepping up. It was Dom Decker stepping up. It was people doing what you need to do to win these type of games, to put yourself in a position to possibly get to the College World Series in Omaha. And this would be the first opportunity for Ole Miss to get to Omaha since that 2022 season, that magical run. And by beating Arizona State, it's got Ole Miss for an opportunity to win its first regional since that 22 season. You look at players like Hayden Federico that have been huge for this Ole Miss team. 7 for 14 with a double and 3 runs scored in the Nebraska regional. Just really, really good numbers. I talked a moment ago about Braden Randall. Also batted .500. 5 of 10 with an RBI single in 3 games. And then Hunter Elliott became the first Rebel in program history to post 3 100 strikeout seasons in their career, reaching that mark Friday night against Arizona State. He needs to be good tonight. I've said, on multiple platforms and multiple shows that the key for Ole Miss is to get to 2-0 because I think that is their path to win. I don't think a 3-game series benefits Ole Miss, but I do think if Ole Miss, and what I mean by that is I think their best chance of winning this regional is winning, obviously, tonight with Hunter Elliott on the mound and then going with Taylor Rabe tomorrow. Taylor Rabe has been fantastic. At the conclusion of the Nebraska Regional, I jokingly said with Ben, I'd love to see them throw Taylor Rabe on Friday. They're not going to do it. They're going to throw Hunter, and I completely understand that. And the good news is if you do win tonight, you get to come back with Taylor Rabe. Let's go to Mike Bianco. Let's hear from Coach Bianco on Monday. Here's what he had to say about that Nebraska Regional winning, and then, of course, headed to face Auburn in the Auburn Super Regional.
Yeah, they obviously were terrific. may have been your tweet, something, I retweeted that. Whatever the stats were, check out your Twitter feed if we're looking for those stats. But no, they were terrific, but like they've been most of the year, and I think sometimes when you just look at a snapshot, sometimes when it's sometimes you just see some of the warts. We say that a lot about our team, because we're looking at them every single day. But everybody has issues. Everybody loses. Everybody has some negative things. But man, our guys have been really good. And you were just talking to two of them, with Hooks and Calhoun. But yeah, they were terrific. I heard some questions about Libert. Obviously, I thought that was huge. And I think in a regional. Really anywhere in postseason, we mentioned it to the team that you need your stars to be stars and to show up. And this is not just to the bullpen, but the team as a whole. But you also need some other guys that maybe were a different role, but now have that star-like weekend. And certainly we had that this past weekend, and several in the bullpen with Libert. I thought JP was terrific, and so they were outstanding.
Butch has created a lot of discussion wanting 2 out of 3 series before the College World Series for arm care purposes, and that's kind of how y'all's season is built off of. You have an opinion on that?
Not really. I get it. I try to stay out of that too much, and I understand it, but I also understand the other part of it, to where it's really hard to keep pushing the season back. There's a lot of these great ideas, but all of a sudden when you start to get deeper into July, and what about that? What about that length? And so again, I understand it. I understand the point of it. We've changed it over years, so it doesn't mean that it can't change. We went from 48 teams to 64 teams. We went to the super regional format. Is it time to change again? I'm sure if there's enough opinions that want to do that, but I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I get it. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't fight it. But I also, it's tougher when you do that. I think, I've heard so much about this weekend and how exciting the fans thought college baseball was this weekend. But I understand his point as well.
How do you kind of handle the portal being open while you're in the middle of all this?
Like you would think, but laughs. Obviously the assistant coaches yesterday were on the phone and doing what we do, and they will work up until the point that we leave. It's part of what's happening now in college athletics. It's this isn't to blame anybody particularly, but it's just not the smartest thing. I fall short because all these cameras say it's dumb, but why this is happening now and why it closes before the draft, it just makes no sense. But in defense to the people that make these decisions, there's a lot more sports out there than baseball, and so I'm sure this will get corrected at some point where we won't have these conversations, and you won't be talking about teams playing for the national championship that fall behind recruiting. The window is not where it's supposed to be, but it is where it is, and so we got to continue to do that.
There are many moments during the season that kind of pave the way for that season, and it just feels like that moment in the 6th inning was big for you, Coach, and it kind of reflect back to that and just how big that was in the win over Nebraska that kind of allowed you guys to win the regional.
Okay, so we're going back to I'm trying to follow. So the
I'm just curious.
Nebraska game, you didn't say that's that 6th inning we're talking about. I'm not trying to make fun. It was huge. So we're Rabe and the way he handled the situation, and there's moments. You're right. If you had to pick a moment of the whatever we played, I'd easily say 27, but it wasn't 27 innings. But the 30+ innings that we played, the most pivotal was that one, and not just because of where you were. Like you win this, you're 2-0, and you're in a driver's seat, and on the road, as electric as that crowd was, but fortunately, we had an ace on the mound, at that time, and those are, sometimes what we say you stars have to be stars, and then you need some other guys. Well, we talked about the other guys, but he's certainly one of our stars, and he answered the bell. I mean, we not sure if we get through it without his effort.
You won 9 straight full counts from the 6th to the 9th inning.
I saw that as well. Somebody retweeted that from you.
Yeah.
I didn't. That's good math.
Good situational baseball, right? I mean, a lot of pitches. I mean,
Yeah, and again, and I know we're a lot of sarcasm, and I'm sorry, we probably shouldn't do that. But you're right. Those are the differences, and so I know it always sounds like coaches speak when we go through this, and then you wake up 60 games later, and you go, the reporters are asking you about those. Hey, win this pitch, and how they swing things, and it really does. And so we get caught up in just a 6th inning in one game, and a guy inducing a ground ball and getting off the field to walking and getting a run across the board, or not striking out and getting a run in, or whatever it is, or a pitcher not walking them, right? And when you're able to do that, that's how the game's won. We if you get out of not necessarily, although it seems like results, but it's just one pitch, right, of the at bat. But when you get in those at bats, can you win that one pitch that really changed the game? And so I didn't realize that. I mean, it was a really obscure stat. I mean, but you're right. It makes a huge difference.
I meant to ask you Sunday, and I didn't, but Owen got that last out now 1 inning Sunday, making that diving catch and a couple good defensive plays Sunday night. Just how have you seen him maybe in just this last week kind of grow defensively?
Just to say, I don't know if grow is the right word, because we've said it for a month now, maybe longer. He's sensational. He's so good, and I think I said it a month or two ago. I'm glad that everybody gets to see it now. We've watched it for 2 years, but yeah, Clement made a comment that he had seen it. I don't know if it was on the internet or rewatched the game of the backhand play in that whatever would have been deep 6th, 7th inning when Libert was on the mound in Game 3. There was a sensational play up the middle that really saved a run in Game 1 against Arizona State in the first with Hunter on the mound. Just an unbelievable play. And sometimes from the dugout and where we are, it's hard to appreciate. You guys may see it better from the press box, but so when we see it from the high home, you go, wow, what an unbelievable play. And of course the line drive, snag. And so defense does win, as the old adage says, and he was really, really good this weekend.
Whether it be in cut-ups or just from your couch, how much do you see of a team like Auburn throughout the years since you don't play them? Hardly all.
Almost never. Just a few at-bats here, or, and sometimes the opposite of who they're playing, but you're not really watching them, so but and over the next couple of days, I mean, we got plenty of time to do that, and I know the coaches started to dive into it this morning. Really the message for me was to get some sleep. This was a tough weekend physically, I think, for everybody, not just from the physically on the field, but the late nights and stuff that we're not used to, and not knowing the opponents and those types of things. So you go to bed and have to wake up the next morning, and we're always worried about how much sleep the players get, which is the most important thing. But then you get back on Monday, and you sit down at a meeting once you get back to the office, and it's tiresome. And so got some rest on Monday, and then went back to work to really check it out. So that's a long answer to your not much. But you know why they're good. You know that they do everything really well. But most importantly, they pitch it better than anybody in our league. And so, but that's not to take anything away from the offense. I think the offense certainly is good. They hit homers, they steal bases, they bunt a little bit. Again, another really good opponent on the road.
All your guys kept talking about really enjoying just being around each other and the chemistry with the portal and all that stuff. Can you pick that up in the fall, or does it take the bullets to start flying to kind of see that a little bit with your guys?
Probably mostly. You're right. I think it's it's different. I've always said this, more to the leadership part, but I think to your point as well. everybody loves Ole Miss. Everybody loves Oxford, and so in the fall, it's easy to enjoy this place. It's easy to enjoy, coming to practice and working. We got a great staff and great team. It's easy to fall in love with this place. But then once you put that lineup out and you have 38 players on your roster and only 10 are starting. So that means almost 75% of the roster doesn't start. And even that first game with relievers and guys coming in, you're still at 65, 70% of the guys don't play first day. And then if you start really doing the math, you go, oh God, how many guys play the first weekend? And then all of a sudden it's different, and so guys have to understand their roles. They have to accept that because now it's real. Because in the fall, everybody plays, all the pitchers pitch the same amount, basically. And so to me, you're right. And then, or you're a starter and you're having success, and now you're not a starter anymore because you're not having success. And guys trying to figure out their roles. But that's why the leadership is so important. And in doing that, I think with great leadership, you start to formulate this team concept and what makes a great team. And so much we talk about the results and the home runs and the strikeouts and the ERAs and the great plays and all those things, and you need them, but they're more apt to happen when everybody's on the same page, pulling in the same direction, all the things that you've said. But that's why they've said it for 50 years, way before the portal, right, way before NIL, way before all of that. People talked about great teams, and so much so that they talk about it in business now, right? I mean, man, they use all the sports concepts, to try to run a business, and that's because, again, people and groups of people that are, on the same page, with the looking for the same goals, seem to have a lot more success.
How has Dom Decker impacted this team?
In a lot of different ways, and he's one of those guys where when you look at the stat sheet, there's nothing that jumps off the page of where you're going to put him in the top whatever of most of the categories, but he does everything well. He's one of the guys in the lineup that, and I said it on Sunday night, that, man, you would want in that situation, even though he failed a couple innings before that, maybe even more so, percentages wise, right? I mean, like, if he just failed, like, he's not going to fail this time. And that's, I think, how much confidence that we all have in him. But from a defensive standpoint, he's one of the guys you want them to hit the ball to, right? You want him touching the ball. You want him on the bases. He's going to make the right, decision. He's going to steal a base. He can bunt. He can do a lot of different things. And so he's what us older guys would say. He's just a really good baseball player. And when you have really good baseball players, they help you win a lot of baseball games. And he's done that. To Chase's question, he's been a great teammate, a guy that comes in here and just really embraces the program and what we do. He's been an absolute pleasure.
You brought Liberty in with a lead, and with a deficit right there. Is there ever a thought in a coach's mind of, hey, I might need him tomorrow, or are you always just locked into that?
We did early. I want to say probably in Saturday's game, when we were breaking down the roles, for that game, we needed to figure out who could throw. Could Calhoun, where was he? How much could we lean on him? Of course, Robertson was going to be a key piece, but how would we use him with Hooks really not being an option? And so, but once we got to Sunday, we knew that we were going to start Elliott on Monday. And so if we got to Monday, once we figured out that he was okay physically on Sunday, all his prep work going into the game, made a decision that's okay. We don't need to worry about a possible starter. We don't need to save him. So whatever role he can do to win that game. And then when we got to the bottom of their lineup, and felt that Townsend just really was, the tank was empty. He gave us everything that he could. We're hopeful that he could get into that inning a little bit. But once we got to ninth inning, we had to have him face, the leadoff guy, Toyoga, or, however you pronounce it. And so, he was probably the scariest guy with Hairston out, the scariest left-hander at the top. We needed him for that. And then, again, the guy that was the MVP, the two-hole guy, was the next scary, but he was able to get through it. Ends up pitching him tough, walks him, and then actually pitches great the next 7 outs, 8 outs.
Protecting homes and businesses from the whims of nature, you need more than just quality materials. You require Riverland Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, Riverland Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence, but a tailored approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what Riverland Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
Hey, Rebels! Your truck is here! Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford presents the all-new Ram Rebel. It's Ram, the Rebel way. Send an unmistakable signal. Rebel, 24/7. Ram Rebel, from your friend in the car business. Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford.
Come by, let's be friends. I'm Warrior Philip Hearn. Raising my family here in Mississippi, I've tried to teach my kids to help others. I learned that from my parents. And as a Mississippi lawyer, I want to help you too. If you're hurt in a traffic accident, 18-wheeler wreck, or have insurance trouble, call 601-720-3541. That's my cell. You call, I'll answer. Let's get started. Make your first call to the Hearn Law Firm today.
That was Ole Miss head coach Mike Bianco, and when we spoke with Mike on Monday, you could just feel how draining it is, and you could see it kind of on his face as this was around the noon hour that we visited with Mike. And it may have been Tuesday, the days are running together. But having a chance to visit with him, you could just see that it was incredibly draining. A couple of things I want to point out before we hear from Hunter Elliott and also from Walker Hooks, and also hear from Hudson Calhoun. The 9th time in program history that Ole Miss has competed in super regional play. Obviously the first since that 2022 season. The pitcher that I talked about a moment ago, Taylor Ray, struck out 36 batters over his last 3 starts and gone 6 innings in all 3. So he's been really good for Ole Miss as Ray leads the SEC and is 3rd in the NCAA in strikeouts to walk ratio, striking out 9.0 batters for every walk issued. He's issued just 10 walks all season long. One thing, too, that I'll point out, Rabe also leads the SEC in walks allowed per 9 innings. He's ranked 3rd in the SEC in whip at 1.03 and 4th in the conference in strikeouts at 12.79. I talked a moment ago about Hayden Federico, and he's been such a great story. He was so much fun to follow this year, and he's just been red hot in the postseason, hitting .474 with 4 RBI, 4 runs scored, and an OPS of 1.29 in the entire postseason. So he's been great. You heard me talk about Braden Randall just a little bit ago, hitting .429. He's 6 for 14 with 3 RBI this postseason, including the walk-off winner against Arizona State on Friday. And one of my favorite players, Austin Fawley. Austin Fawley, the best defensive catcher, I'll say it, the best defensive catcher in the country, has hit 9 home runs over his last 17 games. He's been really hot at the plate after hitting just 4 over his first 36 games. 11 of those 13 home runs have come against SEC teams. Fawley, Judd Udemark, and Tristan Becerra have combined to hit 56 of Ole Miss's 103 home runs this season. The Ole Miss pitching staff, as we hear from as we hear for Hudson Calhoun here in just a moment, the Ole Miss pitching staff is one of 19 staffs in the entire country to have over 600 strikeouts, racking up 672 punch-outs this season. They lead the SEC and are 4th in the country in total strikeouts, trailing only Oregon State Arizona State, and Wake Forest. Let's hear from Ole Miss pitcher Hudson Calhoun over his incredible run in the Nebraska Regional and being a go-to arm for this Ole Miss bullpen.
It was awesome. I was down there in the bullpen with him, seeing him warm up, and he kind of knew that he was ready for this moment. He's been one of my best friends this entire year, and I know it's been really hard on him, especially when you know you're really good, which he is, and we all know it too, and he just hasn't had the success. But to go out there and do that for us, especially, when arms are a little tired, it was massive for us, and then helped us win the regional.
Didn't get to talk to you, but Sunday morning obviously had to come back and warm up for what y'all hoped was just a inning. Have you ever had to kind of have a weird warm up for that short of I guess you call it a game?
I mean, it was kind of funny because Joel, we all thought he was like nervous or something for the one inning because he was making us all warm up for the game. He was like, I just want you to treat it like a normal game. So he put me in yellow, which is our little code, like 2 hours before the game. And I'm like, all right, so like we warm up, like this is acted like, treat it like it's a real game. And it ended up working out because I was normal that routine. It wasn't like, throwing right before the game and then, I'm in the game. So he kept it normal, which I think helped us out a lot.
Pano got that last out behind you Sunday morning, then made those plays Sunday night. How have you, as a pitcher, seen him kind of grow as a defender back there this year?
It's been absolutely awesome to see him grow because shortstop's such a vital position for us because it has to be the best defender on the field, and he's grown into that. You always knew he had the talent. You always knew he had the confidence, the swagger, everything about him. He's awesome, and to see him playing like this at just an All-American level has been great for us.
This time of year, it's all kind of all hands on deck pitching-wise. How do you guys not stress out and just sort of just enjoy it all?
I mean, this is like what we come to do. Like, this is what we love to do, is play baseball, especially in these environments of playing like Nebraska, which was awesome. Every time you go out there, you have to realize that like this is what you work for. This is the opportunity that you've gotten, and the coach is trusting you. So it takes a lot of pressure off you. It's not, oh my, like I have to succeed in this situation. Of course you want to, but like, it's an opportunity. It's not a danger. It's not a threat at all going in these situations. It's an opportunity.
And that's the go-to man out of the bullpen. I think of the perfect scenario tonight for Ole Miss: Hunter Elliott, Hudson Calhoun, and close with Walker Hooks. I think that would be a great, and it never goes, obviously, the way that you want it to, but I think a perfect scenario is Hunter being able to go as long as he can, spelling him with either Hudson Calhoun or Walker Hooks. We saw Walker Hooks could even be a long-type reliever coming in the extra inning game the other night against in the Nebraska Regional, coming in and spelling for a number of innings. So Walker Hooks could possibly come in tonight in middle relief and close it. But I do think Hudson Calhoun may be someone to go to. J.P. Robertson has been a huge arm. And what about Will Lippert? Will Lippert is a great story for this team. But at the end of the day, you would love to be able to go to Walker Hooks. Here's Walker Hooks, the talented left-hander for Ole Miss that many have said in D1 baseball pointed out that Walker Hooks, according to some anonymous coaches, of course, is one of the best arms in college baseball. Here's Walker Hooks with the media earlier this week.
It took, I guess, but yeah, I mean, that was a good thing we didn't go to Monday.
What are these all hands on deck weekends like? I gotta imagine it's got to be pretty exciting, a little nerve-wracking.
It's fun for sure. You just because you never know who's going to pitch when or how long they're going to go, and so you just throw people out there and then see if it sticks, I guess. And then we just did a really good job of managing who was going to throw in what innings, and then finishing the weekend out with a good bullpen. So.
How'd you feel Saturday morning? I think that was your longest one this year.
Pretty sore. So I got over there, started throwing a little bit just to see how long, maybe if I could come back that night or the next day and just, but no, for sure, just sore.
What was it like watching Lippert with the year he had give you guys those innings there on Sunday?
Oh, Lippert, he was awesome. Just really happy to see a guy like that go out there and just do big things, especially in that moment, and just to, it's a great game.
With the season as long as it is, it's a lot of highs, a lot of hope, a lot of lows. The composure of this team has been really interesting to watch. You kind of walked into a team that had a lot of leaders. How's it been, and how have you guys manufactured or dealt with the highs and the lows?
So just this whole year, Joel's been preaching to us be the same guy every day in and out of the field, and so, I mean, you can't let the bad days affect the good days, and let the good days or like ride that high too long, and then then the lows affect everything else. So. It's just been fun to watch everybody be able to keep their composure over these long seasons, whether the highs or the lows, and so, it's been good.
What do the next few days look like? Is it any different from the regular season, maybe?
Since I guess it's like a normal series this weekend, I think we're going a little bit earlier, which is tomorrow. So I guess we'll get a good practice in, then just treat it like it's been an SEC series all year.
You know anybody from Auburn?
So I played with their second baseman, Chris Rembert, for like 3 years in summer ball. So that'll be cool to play him. And then Bub Terrell, which is from Mississippi. Yeah, right. So I've been playing against them since I was 8. So it's going to be really cool to see them out there.
Did you text them or anything?
I haven't texted them yet. I'll have to text them and see if we can go get lunch or something.
Yeah.
It's Auburn and Ole Miss tonight at 7 p.m. The Auburn Tigers, led, of course, by Butch Thompson. The Auburn Tigers, a team that Ole Miss faced in that 2022 College World Series that they defeated. They're very well acquainted with each other. Oddly enough, Ole Miss and Auburn did not face this season, whether it be in the regular season or in the SEC tournament. So this will be the first time these programs have a chance to face each other. Of course, Butch Thompson, head coach of the Auburn Tigers, has guided the Tigers to their 5th Super Regional since 2017. This season marking back-to-back hosting bids, and Thompson and the Tigers have reached the College World Series twice in 2019, and of course that 2022 season that we talked about a moment ago. He's guided Auburn to a 40-20 record this season. Here's head coach Butch Thompson and the Auburn head coach as he gets ready to face the Ole Miss Rebels tonight in the Auburn Super Regional in a best-of-3 games.
Well, I'm excited to be back home. I know George gave me some numbers and stuff, which people can probably figure those out, but I know hosting back-to-back, there's maybe one other team that's done that the last couple of years, and just a good run by our guys and getting our program back to this spot, and you know you're going to have to earn it, and it just feels like you're playing another great team that we didn't play this year, a conference foe and somebody I respect so very much, and Mike Bianco and Ole Miss, so looking forward to it, and it'll come down to who can stay present and who can execute the best. There's enough talent on both sides both teams to find a way to work through this 3-game series. So we just got to be here and present for it. I think even though we have a much younger club than last year's club with 11 guys that went on to professional baseball, we've hopefully tried to learn from last year and put in place this year how important it is to be present, and you can never look ahead or really behind, and just to be in this moment. I do think if I said what's one thing that would be an edge for this ball club, maybe from the experience of last year, is to be present, and so that'll be the message that we send to our team. I would like to take a minute, since I got the floor, to send our condolences to Paul Ellen, a great friend, but really the Auburn family has heard him on football and some fill-ins of baseball. He was with us on our World Series, our first World Series in 19. After the tragedy with Rod and Paula, he was with us on that journey to our first World Series in a long time. So just a good friend. And again, all these relationships are not built when they got a microphone in your face. Those relationships are built when you're eating or in the hotel or just spending some time together, and I just want to lift him up, the Auburn family. I know a lot of people have followed their Auburn teams with his voice as well, so prayers to the family there.
It's just, you didn't play Ole Miss this year. This is a team you saw at the end of the year last year, and a lot of familiar faces on the other side. What stands out?
Power. I would just use the word power. Power legs, power bats, power fastballs, power stuff. I would just use the word power. It's all the way around. And, that's why you play the 10 weeks. And I would say it prepares us, and I've been, screaming that from the mountaintop, but it's prepared them as well. But I would just use the word power, capable, what they did going on the road, and the teams that they played and finding a way. I think they played close, tough games as well and got through that regional. We know it's going to be our 11th SEC weekend is basically what we're about to embark on.
Yeah. Coach, you've talked so much about the necessary for this team to be present and be able to handle what's in front of them on the field. With such a young team getting to this level, 2 steps away from Omaha, what's been your message to the team, especially with everything they went through in the regional?
Yeah, I would say the other biggest thing, I've already used presence, I guess, to communicate with you. It feels like we've worked really hard to talk about, like, everybody wants the end, but I think it's really huge to stay focused on the journey. I think they've done a good job of living in the moment for the most part, and we're snatching each other back to get there, but to enjoy the journey. I said before the regional, if you're just picking up with our team, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed because it has been an amazing journey with these guys. Not easy. It's been tough, but we've seen moments after moments after moments of guys, and we absolutely had a lifetime of memories of what we just went through in this last week. So I got some stuff on this journey of watching what Hetzler did, watching what Chase Fralick did. I mean, Hetzler, man, in that third and fourth inning, after throwing 3 innings in the first game, he was looking at me and giving me a thumbs up like the last 5 hitters he faced. I got that for life, and I just want people to enjoy this journey with these guys. And you know, another little piece to your question is, regardless of outcome of this deal, where our program has grown. We made it to Omaha in 19, but where the program was in 19 to where it sits today, it ain't even close. I mean, you'll see that we had a record crowd Monday night, and we've sold probably 2,000 more tickets than that for tomorrow night. You look at the quality of player and what we've been able, our amazing staff's been able to acquire. It's because the people that come before them and that growth build out of everything happen together. I just absolutely love where our program is. But there's no doubt. I told them 2 weeks ago I thought they were good enough to win the whole thing, you know. And I said, let that settle in for about 1 minute and then get back right where we were. Because I didn't want to go through this whole experience and whenever it ended and not ever tell them how I really felt and told them what was possible. So, yeah, I think they could hook it up and win the national championship. But if you're not present, how hard, this may be the toughest part of the journey right now. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure every coach, player, and our fans absolutely enjoy this team, understand how hard it is to get here, but the momentum of our program, I've never been more excited. And I have been absolutely loving this journey as hard as it is, even when you had to put your head down and try to win 4 games in a row. I want them to focus on the journey and not the end point. I think they'll get more out of it, and I think it'll be less regrettable if you can find a way to do that to the best of your ability.
Once you go and Dre Petro Friday, Saturday, if it is Dre, just how much can you feed off the energy of the crowd, and how much can the crowd sort of feed off it?
I said there's not ever been a better connection than Monday night. Was another level. We have done it 4 years in a row or 5 years in a row, just year over year, more people. The connection through the rhythm of a ball game, I've never seen like it was Monday. And Alvarez is kind of an adrenaline junkie. We're trying to get him settled down and land some soft stuff. So he's going to have to find a way by first pitch to be able to be competitive, athletic, fire, but he's going to have to keep some artistry against these guys. You can't just throw it as hard as you can up against a wall against a team like this in our league. He's going to have to find all that a crowd can offer him at home better than ever before, but still be able to dot I's and cross T's. And I think that's huge for him. I'm not ready to name a number 2 starter because I don't want to disrespect our opponent. I think once we get a starter going, we got to do everything in our power to try to figure out a strategy to be as competitive as we can in those first 9 innings. So there's not even a game 3 in this scenario.
That's Auburn head coach Butch Thompson meeting with the media earlier this week, and he'll have the Tigers ready to face the Rebels tonight, first pitch at 7 p.m. in Planesman Park. I know you've seen a lot of social media chatter about the stadium. It's got a lot of seating that is not permanent. The staff and Red Hobart and his team have done a really good job of trying to get the stadium to seat as many people safely as possible. So definitely a hat tip to Rhett and the entire team at Auburn. I expect a capacity crowd, a very loud crowd, and so it should be a lot of fun. And I don't know how many tickets are available off the secondary market. I think these things, I reached out to Paris Buchanan, who was once at Ole Miss and now doing a great job at Auburn. And he said, Brad, man, these things sold so fast. And so they have made available the tickets that they are mandated to, but the Auburn family has really bought up all of the tickets. So it's going to be a tough ticket. There are availabilities for some off-site sites, if you will, some ticket brokers, if you will, online ticket brokers. And so there are some opportunities, but boy, it's a tough ticket down on the Plains and the Auburn Tigers as they get ready to face Ole Miss. Kind of briefly taking a look at Auburn at the plate, some names you'll want to remember, and thanks once again to the Ole Miss Media Relations Office for throwing some notes together because they did a really good job. Chase Fralick and Ethan Bingaman, they both have combined for 35 home runs this season. Fralick's 20 served as the 9th best mark in the conference. Both hitters are hitting above 320 at the plate. Chris Rimbert is Auburn's most consistent hitter with a 345 average. It's been Rimbert, Fralick, and Eric Guevara each have at least 70 home runs for the year, and each have at least 10 doubles, and Fralick leads the team with 18 home runs, the 7th most in the SEC. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. We encourage you to stick with us on the Ole Miss Spirit. That's OMSpirit.com. We'll have a live thread going. Jake Thompson will be monitoring that and give you all the sights and sounds from the Auburn Super Regional. I'll be there as well. Stay tuned to our social channels at OM Spirit, and of course Brad Logan TOC, at Spirit Ben, at Jake Thompson on 3, and we'll bring you all the sights and sounds from the Auburn Super Regional. Post-game show, of course, brought to you by our good friends at the College Corner. That will be made available to you at the conclusion of the game. Ben Garrett and I will break down the game, hopefully an Ole Miss win, as it's Ole Miss and Auburn tonight at 7 p.m. That will come after all of the post-game availability. We'll have conversations with Mike Bianco and the players that made available to the media. We'll bring that to you, all coming to you in the post-game show, presented by our talent presenting sponsor from the Auburn Super Regional, the College Corner. You can shop with them online at collegecornerstore.com. Follow them on X at College Corner MS or on Facebook at College Corner Store, your go-to spot for all of your Ole Miss needs. I'm Brad Logan. Thanks for joining us here on the Talk of Champions pregame show. It's Ole Miss and Auburn coming up from the Plains, down on the Plains, 7 p.m. as the Rebels look to advance to the College World Series for the first time since the 2022 season. Full coverage at the Talk of Champions Network and the Ole Miss Spirit at omspirit.com.